All right. Ready? And 3, 2. Well, still no sign of Epstein files. RFK Jr. appears to be promoting vaccines now, and Kash Patel makes a suspect hiring move. Many of you, like me, are frustrated with the progress under such a hope-filled change of administration. But now is the time to celebrate what we have made huge strides in, and it's a good reminder to focus on taking personal responsibility of making sure our own homes are in order. The news you need to know, but with solutions and hope. This is Get Free with Christy Lee. You know, so far it seems like Trump's aggressive and ambitious work with tariffs is working. We are on the way. You know, we even just today saw that the House brought us one step closer to seeing those big, beautiful bill tax cuts implemented. And another huge achievement of the Trump administration is the swift action at the border and rooting out the dangerous criminals who should have never been here in the first place. Ben Bergquam with Real America's Voice has been out on the front lines, making frequent trips to the border, and he can see those positive changes firsthand. Most recently, he went to Borstar and Sunland Park, New Mexico, to see how the cartels are running the operations there. And he joins us now with all of the latest. So much to report back. So thank you so much for joining me.
It's great to be with you, Christy, and always great to be on Lindell TV. I love Mike and everything he's done to help save our country, so it's an honor.
Yes, well, we are honored by your work, and it's never been a dull moment for you. The first time I actually met you, you may not even remember, was when I was living in Fresno, and I was still a news anchor for the Fresno or the central area there, when I was still in the traditional news media landscape, and I happened to see you at out there, you know, doing what you do. But man, it seems like so long ago now. So much has changed, but you've been relentless in your coverage, particularly focusing in on the border. So what's it been like to see the evolution of how things have changed, especially so rapidly under the Trump administration?
Well, I mean, we went from death to life. If we would have continued down the trajectory we were on, and by the way, that is great memories. I lived in California, grew up there, used to be a great state, and it's just been destroyed by communists, leftists, now jihadists and illegals and bums and criminals and everything else. And so that's part of the reason why we escaped, moved back to America, to Arkansas, where we live now. But even in Arkansas, rural Arkansas, this is a border state. Every state is a border state now because of what the Democrats have done. And even before Joe Biden, President Trump was a tourniquet on the wound for his first 4 years of what Obama and the leftists, and really it's the NGOs of the United Nations, have been driving this. The United Nations Global Compact on Migration is one of the worst documents ever created. It is a death sentence for the Western world. You see what's happening in Europe. I just spent the summer in Europe, and basically England is gone to jihadists. France is the same. Sweden is the same. Most of the countries in Europe are being taken over. The same thing was happening to America. Thank God we have an ocean that keeps most of the people away. The problem was, under the 4 years of Joe Biden, there's an entire network, a travel agency, a criminal network between the NGOs and the cartels who've orchestrated the largest illegal migration in human history from all parts of the world, every country. And so we documented that for 4 years. On our show Law and Border and Real America's Voice News. It was really tragic. We spent 4 times going through the Darien Gap, back and forth, saw dead bodies everywhere, and exposed what was happening, the child trafficking and everything that was along with that. Joe Biden, the largest child trafficker in human history, all of that was happening. And had we not won this election, regardless of, I know some of the things aren't happening as quickly as we want, some of the choices that are made, no one's perfect outside of Christ. And so some of those things aren't happening the way I would wish they were happening. But had we continued on that trajectory, had Kamala Harris won or stolen the election, we would be dead as a nation right now. What President Trump has done and what Tom Homan has done and now Kristi Noem has really saved this country. But it's just the beginning. So I was just down with Borstar and spent the weekend down there with them. I was down in Mexico last week with some of our guys exposing some of the cartel networks, the Sinaloa cartel. I was in Sinaloa. And so what we have now is a bit of a lull. We have President Trump, again, putting the tourniquet on the wound. We have 10 to 15 million plus illegal aliens in our country right now that need to be gotten rid of. And we have leftist NGOs, judges, and politicians, along with the mainstream fake news media, who are trying to block it. But that's, again, that's a life and death difference between where we would be had Kamala Harris taken this. And so to me, we're at the beginning of the fight to save this nation.
I love that you said that, because I know that there's many frustrated, like even myself sometimes, with some of these decisions. It's a head scratcher when you see some things, but I do think, both you and I are believers. We do need to bring it back to what we can be grateful for, this pause that we've been given. I mean, this is far better situation that we're in than the other situation we would have been in. So we do need to celebrate these successes and be reminded, as you said, that this is just the beginning. Some things may take some time to root out the evil, because it's been a lot of evil that's been injected into our country for a long, long time. But I wanted to hit upon the aspect of what you're exposed to as a parent. You have been relentlessly covering this stuff, seeing some things firsthand, and what is that like to have to see these things going on and face the reality? Like, we hear numbers of 300,000 missing kids under Biden, but it's just like seeing these things firsthand is so different, and it's got to be just so weighing onto you as a parent.
Yeah, that's the hardest part about what I do. But besides being gone from my family a lot, I look at what I do and so many others are doing right now as an investment for their future. But what I see, it breaks my heart. The kids that are drawn into this, that are dragged through this, they don't have any choice in it. And I've seen dead bodies. I've seen children that have been raped. The stories you get from the moms. It is the most heartbreaking thing. And I think about my daughters. I've got a 14-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And I cannot imagine the level of evil that exists in this world. And the cartels are incredibly evil. But the worst to me are the organizations like Catholic Charities, like Lutheran Social Services, Jewish Family Services, and as I mentioned, the United Nations, all of these NGOs, El Otro Lado, Pueblos Sin Fronteras, pretending to be good and actually enabling the most evil. And I'll just give you a story, one of the worst. And again, there's thousands of them, of these children that have happened. But I had one mother who we confronted as she came across the border. This was a few years ago. And when we came up to her, she actually tried to run away from us. We were on the U.S. side. She'd come across the America side, tried to run away from us. We ended up catching up to her. And we asked her why she ran away. And she said she didn't know who we were. And she started telling us a story of how she had gotten there and the lies she had been told. And she'd come from Guatemala, brought her 2 daughters with her. And she said every night when they would sleep, the cartel, every point along the way, the cartel, they were in cartel hands, in cartel custody. And they had to pay the cartel either with money or with their bodies or with trafficking. And she said every night she would take her daughters out into the woods or anywhere that she could get away from where the big group was. And she would lay on top of her daughters so that her daughters wouldn't hear the other girls being raped. And you think about that. You think about that level of, as a parent, as a father, as a mother, it's unfathomable. And to think that evil is being promoted in our country and being promoted by people that claim to be good. They're marching in the streets right now, trying to burn down America, trying to get rid of Trump, trying to get rid of Homan, trying to protect illegals, while children are being raped continuously. And it's still happening today. It's just not at the same scale that it was, but it's horrific. And again, I just came back from Mexico. These cartels, thank God President Trump labeled most of them terrorist organizations. What I've seen, we can't even put on the air. I mean, I've watched bodies dismembered on camera while they're still alive, and heads. In fact, the street I was on last week, human head was left, and the guy was alive when they took his head off. These are the most evil. This is Satan at work in the world. And again, I go back to who's driving it, who's pushing it. We know the cartels are evil. They're going to be evil. That's who they are. That's what they are. That's what they do. But it's the organizations, it's the judges, it's the politicians and the media that gives cover for these demons. Those to me are the real enemies. Those are the ones that to me have to be exposed. And even on our side, the reason partly why President Trump he's doing a lot through executive order, but none of this matters if we don't get a House that has the balls to do what it needs to do, if we don't get rid of the rhinos and have a House and a Senate that codifies this forever. If we don't get politicians arrested and prosecuted, removed from office and prosecuted, this is going to happen again in 4 years or 8 years or 12 years. This is a cancer. It is demonic. And if we don't, as the body of Christ, don't stand up now, as fathers protecting my household, my family, as mothers standing up for your children, if we don't stand up now, this demon is going to destroy this country and it's going to destroy the world. And so that's why I do it. I mean, it's the primary reason why I do what I do.
And a great reminder to stay deep in prayer and make sure that we're praying for these situations and for God to give us grace and give us a moment where we can hopefully pray to turn things around and use this time. I had a guest on a while back that grew up on both sides of the border and was kind of warning on do not underestimate the cartels. They may still be planning retaliatory measures. Do you think that there is still concern that there could be future acts of terrorism that they will unload as Trump and Kristi Noem and others become more aggressive on getting these folks out of here?
Yeah, without a doubt, it's coming. And so if you remember what we saw in the first 4 years of President Trump, we had this alliance, BLM, Antifa, all of these communist organizations burning down our country under the facade of police brutality, protecting criminal thugs at the expense of American citizens, and in particular, the inner city, burned down their own communities. Now you have that alliance that has formed with illegal aliens, again, 10 to 15 million illegals, hardened death criminals coming from countries like Guatemala, where the murder, the murder rate, the solving of murder rate is around 10%. 90% of murders go unsolved. Same thing with Venezuela. You got TDA and all of these gangs coming up into the United States, along with jihadists. So the amount of Islamic jihadists that were allowed in under Joe Biden is, again, it's incomprehensible for most people. We've got thousands of people that hate our nation, that hate our way of life, that hate you, hate your family, hate your children, that want to see them dead. And they've all combined into this unholy alliance whose primary objective is to destroy this country from within. That's going to continue. It's going to get worse. These little protests we saw this last Saturday, all of that is part of that. These are the brown shirts of the Democrats. The Democrats are really, it's hard to say who's driving it, if it's the Democrat Party or if they're just the useful idiots that the real terrorists are using to destroy this country. But just be prepared. It's going to get worse. If you thought it was bad, the BLM riots in Minneapolis in Trump's first term, it's going to be much worse unless we unleash our law enforcement to do its job, unless we, the people, stand up and say enough's enough. But there are thousands, if not tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in our country right now that want to do America harm and want to totally remake it, destroy it from within. So not to make it grim, and going back to the cartels, they're still fully operational. We pumped hundreds of billions of dollars into their pockets over the last 4 years. And what they're doing right now, there's really a reorganization. You've got the Mexican government, you've got this new president, really a socialist president, pretending, doing some lip service, doing more than the previous president did, and doing more than she would be doing if Kamala Harris were in office. But really what they're doing is shifting. They're attacking the cartels they don't like, and they're giving cover for the cartels they do like. And what we're going to probably end up seeing is like what we saw in the 80s and 90s with a reorganization of the cartels, where you get fewer cartels with more power within each one of them. And then they're going to continue doing what they're doing. They're already in every major city across America. They're in most small cities across America. And their objective is real simple: money and power. And they don't care how they get it. So they'll kill you if they have to. If they don't, they won't. They don't want that necessarily. That's why we tend to be protected when we report on this stuff, because it's bad for business. But there's other sides of that will kill you and want to kill you. And there's all of that going on right now in our country. It's a very, very tense time for our nation.
Yeah, we have a report that, there's 13 cities that have been identified as really cartel heavy, but the top 5 are Denver, Phoenix, Atlanta, Los Angeles, and Chicago. So beware there. Wanted to get your opinion on, if history tells us anything, it tells us that there's always been corruption of collusion between certain agencies and cartels. the money and the power, it speaks, how are you feeling about a new justice system? Do you feel like enough has been done to root out the bad actors so that we can not have to worry about the collusion between our own agencies and cartels?
Short answer to the end of the question, no, not nearly enough's been done. It's just starting. Again, the fight is just getting underway. Every branch, every agency in our country has been corrupted, and not just by the cartels, but by communists, by jihadists, by people that want to do America harm, by just leftists that hate America, hate capitalism. So there's a whole bunch of different enemies that we have to go after. But when it comes to the cartel, I'll give you an example. In Mexico, where we were down in Culiacan, Sinaloa last week, there have been 1,600 abductions, kidnappings, takings of people in Sinaloa in the last year. 1,600. I will give the audience a chance to guess the number of prosecutions that took place in that state of Mexico. The answer is zero. Not a single prosecution of a cartel member has been done for the kidnappings that have occurred over the last year. And that's because Mexico is basically a failed narco state. From every level down, from the DAs to the judges to the politicians up to the president, every level has been corrupted by the cartels. And it's because of the terror that they inflict. We actually had a kidnapping happen on the street we were driving down as we were driving back to our hotel. It happened 2 minutes before we drove through. As we drove through, not a single person was out in the streets. Not a single police came out to help the situation. We didn't even realize it happened until we got back to the hotel and saw the video of it. And it really goes back to the citizens are so afraid. They're living in a state of terror. It's really Stockholm syndrome in action, that they don't even report it. They just expect that if somebody is kidnapped, nothing's going to happen. They're either going to come back at some point, they're going to have to pay them off, or they're going to die, or they're worse. People in Mexico are more afraid not of dying, but of not being found, so that nobody ends up being able to have rest for their bodies. All of that to be said, the same corruption, that the cancer that has destroyed Mexico is in America. Every level of our government has been corrupted. The same money and power that has corrupted Mexico is in the United States now. We have politicians in our government at the United States Capitol that have been paid off by the cartels, no doubt about it, and every branch down through it. Now, I won't feel good, I won't feel comfortable until we start seeing those arrests. And the same thing in Mexico. I asked the Mexican citizens, is this good that we took 29 of these heads of the cartels off the streets? And they said, well, yeah, it's something. But they said nothing really is going to change until the politicians start getting arrested. And the same is true for America. Until we see politicians, the weaponization of the Justice Department that we saw against J6ers and against President Trump, we need real justice. People call it retribution. I just say it's real justice. We need that in America. And it goes from the top down. Everybody that's been involved with it, again, whether it's communism, jihadism, or cartel interference or undermining of our country, until that starts happening, until Pam Bondi starts going after those guys, and I love Kash Patel, a good friend of mine, until Kash Patel and the FBI starts going after those guys, I won't feel comfortable. That's where we're at now. That's the direction we need to head.
And I do need to start to wrap with you, but one thing I didn't get to hear is how you got wrapped up in all of this. Like, where did you get your start with joining Real America's Voice and all of that?
You got 2 hours for the show. I'll keep it really
I know.
short.
I'm like telling you, we got to wrap. Tell me like in a sentence or two how you.
Yeah.
Sorry for that.
God's call in my life, I would just say it is that. I've been through addiction. I was a crack addict for a few years. God turned my life around when I was a child. God put a vision on my heart that I'd be leading His armies into battle someday. Didn't know what that was. I was afraid of it for a long time. Turned away from it. Got into drugs and alcohol. Almost lost my life. Felt like I was going to end up in prison or jail. Came clean to my wife. God set me free in an instant, and He's put me back on this course. Everything I do is God, family, country. And I was not the border guy until about 8 years ago. I met my first angel mom. And when I realized that American citizens were being killed by illegal aliens in America, and our government was working to protect the illegal aliens, I was outraged. And so I just started covering the border. And over the last several years, it's become what I focus most of my attention on. But how I got to where I'm standing right now, I'll put it real simple. If anyone's watching this, and I have people ask me all the time, how do I do what you do, or how do I do what God's call in my life is? I would say, first off, you just pray. You ask the Lord, what's your will for my life? You get right with your wife. There's a verse, if you're a husband, there's a verse in Peter says, husbands, honor your wives, lest your prayers be hindered. And when I was an addict, I wasn't honoring my wife. As soon as I came clean, God set me free and set me on this path. So husbands, honor your wives. And then ask the Lord, what do you want to do with my life? And take the first step. You don't know. If you'd asked me 20 years ago what I'd be doing today, I couldn't tell you. But it took that first step. And then you take the second step and the third step and the next step. And all of a sudden you have a picture of your life. And it's been used. And someday you'll hear, well done, good and faithful servant. That's my prayer. So sorry to get emotional, but it's been a road. So I'm blessed to be able to do what I do. But I would just encourage anybody out there. Everybody has a purpose. Even if you feel like I was an addict, you feel hopeless, God has a purpose for your life. And I just want to encourage you to seek his will, get on your knees if you need to, and be encouraged. If you hear the enemy saying that you're a failure, don't listen to it. Every day, get up and make that day great.
So good. One more thing I have to ask you about real quick, because it's getting mixed reviews, is this report that the Trump administration is going to start denying green cards and visas based on anti-Semitism on social media. I'm not sure if you saw that. I got that from the Right Scoop. What are any initial thoughts on that?
I haven't seen that, but I will tell you this. I'm glad that they're revoking visas for people that were creating the pro-Hamas Palestinian riots that we saw at Columbia and NYU and all of the colleges across America. There is a growing, regardless of how you feel about Israel, regardless of how you feel about Israel's influence in America, there is a growing movement of jihadism across not just America, but around the world. And if we don't get ahead of that, we're going to be in a world of hurt. It's all part of what's going on now. So I would say anybody who openly supports any terrorist organization, whether that's Hamas, Hezbollah, the Muslim Brotherhood, they should not be in our country. And for God's sake, we shouldn't be inviting them in. Now, if they're here, they're citizens, there's less you can do about that. But if they're somebody that wants to come into our country, or they're already here on a visa, they should be kicked out yesterday. So I don't know specifically about that. I haven't seen specifically about that. But right now we're heading towards another Holocaust if we don't stop what is the direction we're going. Again, I totally understand people's concerns, feelings about outside influence on America and where we spend our money and our resources and putting America first. I'm all about that, but we can't allow jihad into this country. It's not compatible. Sharia law is not compatible with the Western world.
Yeah.
Judaism is, Judeo-Christian values are what this nation was built on. Islam is not, and in particular, fundamentalist Islam is not. So that's just my 2 cents.
Very well said. Thank you so much, Ben, and look forward to having you back again. Keep us updated on all of these developments. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right. Border Patrol, part of them being able to be effective is their use of communication. And thankfully they have been able to use sat phones to communicate and coordinate. And you know what? You are able to as well for your own personal protection. And that's what we're going to move toward the direction of this show, is things you can do to take personal responsibility for your own home, for your own safety. Don't wait for somebody else to do it for you. You can take control now, and there's resources available to do that. So we'll be talking about that in just a moment. But first, please support Get Free with Christy Lee. One way you can do that is making really solid, great investments for yourself. So it's a win-win. And you can go to ChristyOilBoom.com. Watch this. The world's smartest investors aren't buying oil stocks. They're collecting mailbox money from oil royalties instead. I'm talking about passive income that shows up month after month, starting with as little as $25. Visit ChristyOilBoom.com to discover how to tap into monthly royalty checks from America's most productive oil basin. You don't need to be wealthy. You just need a regular brokerage account. That's ChristyOilBoom.com to learn how you could start collecting oil royalty checks every month. All right, welcome back. A bit of a scary conversation there with Ben just moments ago about who knows what could happen with the presence of cartels. We may not have even seen the worst that's yet to come. But communication, that is our first line of defense, being able to coordinate and get our resources together. And one way that you can do that to make sure that comms don't go down is through a satellite phone. And so we welcome back Brett Miller to the program to talk about that. Thank you so much for joining me. Wow, I love your background today.
Oh, thank you. I moved. I got a new space, a new studio. So just preparing for what's coming down the pipe. So fancy.
Yes, I like it. So lots of great things to report, some things that are frustrating happening in the news. Like it's just like we have a lot of good things happen, but we're like, yeah, but this hasn't happened yet. So I guess it's just the human condition. We focus on the things that still haven't seen action. But it is a bit scary, this last interview I did about the problems that remain at the border, and just another reminder to protect ourselves. And I believe you told me before that you had worked with Border Patrol and making sure that they have the comms that they need to clean up America.
Yeah, we work with all kinds of responders, emergency services. We work with people on the border for sure. Guys like Michael Yon, who are reporting from the Darien Gap all the time. And yeah, I actually caught the end of your interview there with Ben in the waiting room. And I mean, he's spot on. My question is, where's Mayorkas? I'm pretty sure that was the guy that was running this clown show for the last couple of years. So maybe we could just, point a finger and start going after the people that were actually responsible for it. But to Ben's point and to what you guys were talking about, I mean, we're in this kind of period where it feels like everything's getting a little bit better. We're hearing a lot. Everyone's posting pictures of themselves with guns and hats on, and look at all the bad guys we've captured. But, when you really look at the numbers, the comparison between the people being arrested and deported or arrested and held accountable versus the numbers of people that are here that we don't know about, or nefarious actors that we do know about, I mean, the global blackout, the cyber crisis, the cyber pandemic. I mean, all of these cards are still in play according to the bad guys. And I would almost argue that they're going to play these hands much faster now, seeing that their budgets are being cut and that maybe some good is actually happening when it comes to securing the country. So yeah, we're just still, our core focus is off-grid communication, backup power sources, bug out bags, satellite comms, all these things, all this great gear, all these great tools that we have available that our governments and our militaries and our border patrols and our first responders, I mean, they all use them. So what we're doing is just putting these products in the hands of everyday people so they're never left in the dark. No pun intended.
Yeah. And you can go to sat123.com and see all of those things available to you. And you might be surprised at the expense. It's really not as expensive as you would think. And I mean, you really can't put a price tag on the safety of you and your family. But I was pleasantly surprised as I was looking at these numbers when you compare what you spend on just your regular cell phone bill that they could theoretically cut you off of at any time. And then these devices, it's a small drop in the bucket when it comes to what it could mean for you and your family. People have been able to use them during natural disasters, but there is always the possibility of what the enemy will do when backed in a corner, and being able to have that communication tool. There's also the element of privacy. You get a greater degree of privacy with these phones and communication devices, right?
Absolutely. It's a much more secure network, the satellite network. I've talked with, I think I mentioned last time we spoke, I've talked with some 3-letter agency guys who were telling me on how they capture packets, what they call them, information packets, which would be like phone calls, how they intercept and, track people that maybe don't want to be tracked. It all works on your cell phone. Everyone realizes that cell phones are not protected. They're not safe. And, they're not always reliable. I mean, you can drive down the street and lose service, sometimes. So yeah, when it comes to security, the satellite network is where it's at. That's the one that the governments use. Like I said, the militaries use it. It's a much more secure network. And if you can see the stars, you can make a phone call. So, you're never going to be left, I don't want to say in the dark, but you're never going to be left without contact with the ones you love.
Yeah. And so again, you can go to sat123.com and look at some options. There is a cell phone, I believe, still available that you can get for free if you mention the show. And also a Bivy stick, which is a satellite texting device. One way that you can take personal responsibility, which I've been really pushing and making sure that your own family is safe, you're not waiting for anyone to protect you, is to make sure you stocked up and armed your family with either a satellite texting device or a phone. And you can even do kind of like family plans, if I recall correctly, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you. We have all kinds of plans. Our goal is not to sell you stuff. Our goal is to get you the gear and supplies that you need, that your family needs, that you want. Well, we want you to assess where you are in your protection level or your safety level when it comes to these emergencies we've seen, and we have seen a lot of them. Fires, floods, cold storms. The new prediction is this is gonna be the worst tornado season that we've seen to date. So that's like a scary prediction if you live in the tornado belt. So all of these things affect communication first, right? I mean, that's what gets knocked out. The cell towers, your ability to call for emergency services, your ability to track your family or find your loved ones. And since we don't all live on the farm anymore like we used to, it's imperative that you know where your loved ones are at, especially in those times of emergency. So yeah, thank you for that. We have family plans, home plan, individual plans. We have corporate plans too. If you have a business and you want to make sure that all of your employees are in contact during an emergency, or even just a warning, or just a backup, even a redundancy. We have all kinds of plans down to the individual. So yeah, just send us a chat. We have a chat message, or give us a ring and just, tell us what your concerns are. Tell us what you need and tell us what you're thinking about. And then we will find the right product and service that fits you and your budget for your needs.
So obviously, I mean, I'm partial to making sure that you have a way to communicate, because I feel like that's number one, because that's how you can coordinate who has what other resources
Right.
if you get in a bad situation. But what else do you think is really important for folks to make sure that they have besides the satellite device? What else are you offering at sat123.com that people might want to consider?
Yeah. I mean, I like to have people just kind of evaluate their daily life. Like when you wake up in the morning, that first hour, like what are the first things that you do in that first hour of your life? Do you contact someone? Do you check the news? Do you boil some water? Do you, what do you do? And once you figure that out, then you can kind of assign like, hey, well, what equipment do I need? Like to boil water, I need some power. So if the electric goes out, do I have a backup solar generator, or do I have a backup generator? If I want to stay warm, I need to plug in an electric blanket or run a little small space heater. Do I have that availability? If I take a drink of water, but the power's out and the water's not coming through my water filter, through my pipes, do I have a water filter available? Do I need a bug out bag maybe that has a first aid kit and a water filtration device that I can always get fresh water no matter what happens? So we have all of these devices, all of this great equipment, from, all different size solar generators to bug out bags. And then again, all the communication stuff. And, we have some great deals right now too. If you pay for a year in advance, I think we'll still give you maybe a Starlink or something. We have all kinds of cool plans going on, free phones, just say Christy sent you, and we got some free phones. Or yeah, she mentioned this Bivy stick that you mentioned. We'll give you this Bivy stick. That's a $300 satellite texting device that you can use with any smartphone. So, I would say, just everyone should really take this time, this peace in the storm, to assess your life, to assess your daily routine, and then what you and your family need in case that power goes out. And then come check us out. And we got 9 times out of 10, we got exactly what you need.
Yes. And the moral of the story is don't hesitate. Make sure that you either, if you can't do it right now, if you can't go to sat123.com right now, put it on your calendar just to give it like 15 minutes to peruse the site. You can use that chat feature. You don't have to even make a phone call. You can use the chat feature to kind of be guided through your options there. But what happens time and time again is people put it off, people put it off. And, there's people in North Carolina, they didn't know that suddenly their lives were going to get turned upside down. Those people in Hawaii and Lahaina, they didn't know that their lives were going to get turned upside down and that it would be too late. So don't hesitate, prepare now so that you can have ease of mind should the worst occur. But again, go to sat123.com, mention Chrissy Lee or Get Free or Lindell TV, one of those that will work, and see what you can have available to you as far as deals go, and just take the time to be prepared, take control, so that you're not fretting about, well, the government hasn't done this yet, or the government hasn't arrested enough people yet. Well, what are you doing? What are you doing, and what can you do? Well, here's one thing that you can do is prepare yourself. Brett, thank you so much. You're always so full of information, and just a reminder of why we work with you. We just know that those over at Satellite Phone Store, they really want to arm you with the ways to protect yourself and be prepared. So thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you, Christy. God bless. Appreciate you.
You too. And staying on that topic, we are going to continue to drive home the ways that you can be prepared should the worst happen, or even if it doesn't. How about the peace of mind you had that if the worst happened, you would be prepared? All of that is valuable. So one way you can do that is to make sure, obviously, the next thing besides communication is making sure that you're stocked up on food that you can eat, food and water. And many people are like, oh, I have some rice and beans or dried fruit. Is that going to be enough? Or do you want some meat in the mix? So watch this there, and then I'll have updates on the way you can have meat available to you in case there's supply chain issues or anything else that could come down the pike. Watch this. Let them eat bugs, they say, or lab-grown meat, or worse. No, we want our real beef. And we need to get free from the rising costs, because the prices are skyrocketing. So you need to go to klbeef.com, stock up on all American beef from ranches in Texas, from Prepper All Naturals. We don't want the mystery meat. This meat is no mRNA jabs ever. It's freeze-dried, stored in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers for maximum shelf life. We're talking 10 plus years without refrigeration. We're not talking jerky. We're talking about something you can just soak in water for 15 minutes, ready to eat. And these are premium cuts: New York strip, tenderloin, sirloin, chuck. Just use promo code KLB15 for 15% off your order. Welcome back. And, we've been playing that little ad there for quite a long time. It's probably about time for me to update it. But here to update it right now is the man behind the meat, Jason Nelson, the CEO of Prepper All Naturals. So thank you for joining me. So many exciting things happening with you that I want to dig into. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you for that introduction as well. I'm slightly blushing now. I guess now I'm behind all the beef in America. I'm going to just own it.
You just never know what's going to come out of my mouth.
Well, thanks for having me on, Christy. It's a weird thing because everybody always thinks of food in the terms of emergencies. Like, hey, what if there's an emergency? What are we going to do? And a lot of people are like, oh, well, we'll depend on the government that probably won't come to your house because you have a Trump flag. But nonetheless, most people always think in terms of emergencies. And I think this last week should have been the thing that really opened people's eyes. And the mission behind our company had really was not about keeping people prepared during emergencies. We know that there are oftentimes people can get through a couple of days. What the idea was is that, hey, there are oftentimes supply chain hiccups. COVID was a huge wake up for a lot of people about how integrated our worldwide food supply chain is and how things move around the world and how that can sit here and create problems for the consumer to be able to find products they need. And we thought, well, there's a couple of ways you can solve that: stabilizing prices, but more importantly, making sure that you're taking products and taking out of the supply chain all of the foreign markets. So therefore, none of our product, not the Mylar bags that it comes in, the oxygen absorbers, nothing. It comes from outside of the United States because we want to help people to be able to defeat supply chain issues in the event of not just an emergency, but there are lots of things, even let's say a minor trade war that would break out. I mean, look at the price of medicines that are going to go through the roof very soon because all of these people have moved this offshore and farmed it over to communist China. A lot of beef that we eat in the United States doesn't come from within the United States. Over half of it, what you see in the grocery store, comes from somewhere else, and it is not marked as such. We have no idea the standards in which that meat is prepared. We have no idea the standards in which it's farmed, ranched, the way it's slaughtered. It's only when it gets here and they start to carve it up that the USDA stamps it. And again, they're not required to mark that it comes from Australia or it comes from Mexico or it comes from China or anywhere else. And we know what they did down in Australia during COVID. So I think when we start to consider what's inside of your food, you want to be better prepared and able to insulate yourself from foreign contaminants, as well as the inevitable what we're going to have back and forth as we stabilize our own commodities markets here in the United States that Trump's been working so hard to do. And we're really proud of the fact that we've been able to find a way to do that and present it in a way that at all price points that allows people to prepare themselves and to be self-reliant in the event of not just an emergency, but whether or not you go hiking and camping and other things like that, or whether or not you just see the prices of beef start to go through the roof and you sit here and say, hey, we have the ability to supplement our own victory gardens. Right behind me, you can't see it, but I have our own our eighth of an acre garden in the back that's prepping our vegetables that we actually use, because once a week we use our own product here. There's a sort of a quality control. My kids have never noticed the difference. As a matter of fact, if anything, they ask more often, is this freeze-dried? Whenever they're talking about all food. So what I would recommend is to go to KL Beef and take a look at all of the options that are available. There are some, as we said, entry-level points, including we have mastered how to do ground beef, so it isn't the taco-flavored mush that you see at other places. We want to give you food that actually looks like food. It is food. That's because it is not prepared with any preservatives. It has nothing but just beef. That's the ingredients on the package, beef.
Excellent. But you are growing and expanding, and where are you at with offering other selections other than the steaks? Although we all do love our steaks. What else are you expanding on?
We did. We've added back our basics line. A lot of people would remember a couple of years ago we had originally offered our organic chicken breast. We've added back all natural chicken breast now, as well as ground beef. Again, we'd like to people. I know that people say we are the only company in the world that makes freeze-dried filet mignon. We're the only company in the world that does freeze-dried ribeye, but not everybody, and it's great to have that. It's great to sit here and say, gosh, things have gone horrible. Let me go have my filet mignon. But at the same time, you go, hey, most people can't enter. They need to be able to prepare for their families. We don't have filet mignon with dinner ever, but especially not with 5 children. So what we need to be able to do is we have that basics line and incorporate it into that. We have not raised the cost on our original beef. With that is prime cuts. That's sirloin. That's brisket. That's just all of the things that the picanha, all the things that you love, chuck. We use from the cow that goes into our original steak. So even that, we've tried to keep that price point at a point that's entry level, so that people can turn around and be able to stock their pantries now. They don't have to wait for the next emergency to reach out and hope that there's resources available. So, and right now, I believe we have a discount, a coupon going for your site at klbeef.com, correct? And Christy, I don't want to use the wrong promo code, so I'll let you
will give you 15% off. KLB15.
By the time this airs, KL Beef 20 will be out there, and you can go ahead and save 20%. We're just going to give that discount right now. I know that's actually a genuine surprise face. So we're going to do that right now, and the reason why is because, again, we are seeing that everybody else is raising their prices right now as possible tariffs go into effect. Pay attention to that, folks. That tells you where they're getting their products from. Since we are all 100% American and everything we have sourced down to where it's even mined comes from here in the United States. So therefore, our products don't need to go up in price. We can actually lower them and make sure that you're prepared for whatever comes next.
Excellent. So again, that's KL Beef 20, KL Beef 20 to get 20% off at klbeef.com. And I think people are really interested. How does one get into this business of freeze drying meat? It's like a weird sector to be in. So would love your background. I love that you have a large family and that you're just thinking of that preparedness mindset and then being able to share it with all of the rest of us. But how did you fall into this as a business model?
When I retired from the Army, I came out of Army Special Operations Command, so under Civil Affairs and Psychological Operations. And Civil Affairs, our job is to go into third world nations, places that have deteriorating situations, and create simple solutions for complex problems to mitigate human suffering. It's our job to sit here and take a look at just large complex issues and say, what's really wrong here? What's a key thing that we could do? And then we create what we call a measure of effectiveness to understand, say, did we reach and achieve our goals? And we have to look at first, second, and third order effects. So for us, when I retired, one of the things that's very ever present in my mind are my new health problems, a lot of which I'm finding out are from things that I breathed in or things that I ate while I served 20 years between the Marine Corps and the Army. And that includes our MREs, which were just chock full of sodiums and preservatives and all sorts of nastiness. And so as it's moved my family towards having a more all-natural lifestyle, it includes where we stand on vaccines as a family, other things like that, we wanted to take a look at problems we could solve. And this was a twofer on this instance, which was one, how do you stabilize commodities prices? That ebb and flow that can happen. For example, in beef, it's about $5 a pound on ground beef. That's huge. And you could stabilize that by as much as 75%, actually, just by switching to this model of using freeze drying. And then on top of that, how do you sit here and preserve something for an extended amount of time without adding a bunch of nastiness to it while maintaining the actual natural flavor, textures, things like that? And we looked at it and said, no one's doing this product. Why? It turns out it's just really hard. So you just have to create efficiency systems. And then that was it. That's the genesis of our company. We just said, well, let's take something that's hard to do, make a simple way to fix it, some complex problems, find simple solutions. And thus far, we've seen that as you see the freeze drying industry growing exponentially, we are obviously onto something. And I'm glad that we are we got in on the ground floor, if you will. But more importantly, we're just really proud of the fact that we're able to not only provide the American public with this necessary product, this necessary thing. If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right after oxygen, then water, you have food. So you can have all the firearms you want, but if you don't have food in your cupboard, it's not going to be helpful in an emergency. But on top of that, we have the opportunity to go out and give back as a company, whether it be in Western North Carolina, whether it be in Hawaii, whether it be in California. We've always had the opportunity to be able to give back. And we don't often advertise that, but it's something that it's built into the packaging. So when you support our company, not only are you supporting a company that's 100% American, 100% owned by 100% combat disabled veterans, but on top of that, we actually do a lot of work within our own community and around the country. So you're giving back a lot to your own communities when you support ours. So thank you.
Yes, I mean, and everybody knows that, should things go wrong, you need water first, then you need premium steak second. No, I'm kidding. No, but you do.
Don't even try to deny yourself that.
No, but you do need the protein. I think that is missing. My mom has always been a prepper, long before I got red pilled and everything, and she would give me these buckets of of food just in case I needed them. But it was like freeze dried fruit and just like a bunch of boring stuff. I'm like, man, I hope I never have to tap into those buckets because none of this looks appealing to actually eat. But then yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, it's taco flavored beef porridge. That's not what nobody wants to eat that. And when I tell people when you rehydrate the product, I recommend you use beef broth, right? Because you want to add some salt and other things to it. But it's meant to be added to a meal. This is not a meal. We don't want to give you a meal, but what you can cook on your own. You have hopefully vegetables that you're growing in your own garden. You have preserves that you've set aside. Again, this is we don't like to call it. It's not for what was the word that we were using? Oh gosh, now I'm not going to remember it. So that was going to sound clever there for a moment, and now I just don't. I'm willing to admit that. No, Matt. There you go.
Yes,
oh, I didn't
no
remember
worries.
it. There you go. So you're not a survivalist. You're a survivalist. See. I'm not quick,
yes.
But I am clever.
But it does come around eventually. Yes.
Eventually.
So, the bags that I received for my freeze dried meat, looks much more appealing than all those buckets my mom used to give me, and so feel good about that. And also, I think you touch upon a really good point that this doesn't have to be food that you use someday. Like you can actually use it now. In other cases, this is a prime time, like when there might be some price spikes when it comes to meat because of the trade things that are going on. And also, I mean, we also have become more aware of the additives to our food and the fear of them giving cattle mRNA vaccines. So that's another thing I really like about this meat is we can know and feel good that this hasn't been poked full of vaccines.
Absolutely. It's one of that was well, again, we could sit here and say, I'll talk about the genesis of why, but when we started to talk about what kind of products that we wanted to present, it was very important as we went through the American, then Texas beef, but what is going into our cattle? What are we eating? And I think people are becoming more and more aware. It's crazy how red pill people have become about fluoride, right? But it is crazy because if people are still moving forward with this non-organic meat, fake meat, Franken meat. They're still moving forward with it. The DoD just announced a $500 million research grant into Franken meats, and they can dress it up however they want. The fact is, the solution is staring them right in the face, and they're still moving away from it, which gets us back to the same place we were a year ago, 2 years ago. They may be quietly working right now, but they're still working towards eliminating beef as a staple of our diet. They're still working to eliminate proteins in general, animal proteins. That their goal is to make you eat synthetic food. Then if we get away from that fact, we're going to sit here and create a problem. Because remember, there's millions, billions of people around the world who don't get to enjoy steak. And they want to make it equitable for everyone. But they don't want to do it by providing everyone with beef. They want to do it by making you eat synthetic meat.
Yeah, or bugs. So if you don't want to be eating bugs or like so gross, not appetizing at all. Like they want to make sure that they can continue to eat meat, but they want to give us the scraps. But you can do something about that right now. You can go to klbeef.com. You can use that KLBeef20 to get 20% off right now. So generous of Jason that while others are rising their prices in response to everything that's going on, he's giving you an opportunity to get a discount. Just stock up now. Stock up and forget it. It's kind of like a crock pot. Fix it and forget it. But we're doing it in prepper terms. Anyways, go to klbeef.com, promo code KLBeef20, stock up now. And Jason, I want to encourage people to follow you on X because I continue to see you posting things about like X is suppressing me. What's going on? So make sure you're following.
I am the only person in the world with 120,000 followers who can't get 5 people to say hi to me. It is the weirdest thing. And I'm just thinking, I bought a Tesla, I have Starlink, I have we've bought in Elon. What do I got to do here at this point? I live in maybe I need to be his congressman. He's in my district. I may rerun just for that so I can get, I don't know, more. No, we just enjoy being on there. We actually share our family's homeschooling adventures and our gardening and the things we're going through as a family who's living outside of the typical, stabby jabby, go to public school, the indoctrination cycle. And it's very interesting to be a part of that movement, and we just want to inspire people. And so I appreciate you calling it out. So go to @RealJasonNelson on X if you'd like to follow that. And I do try to keep everybody updated on what's going on in the world of beef. But go to KL Beef and support Christy Lee and make sure you use that promo code KLBeef20. We'd love to give you a discount. And there's no hidden fees in there, no shipping cost, anything. So go and visit today.
I love it. I love you, your family, and what you're doing and helping us to take personal responsibility and sovereignty over our own welfare so that we can worry less about what the government's doing. I think that's always a good reminder. So thank you, Jason. Look forward to having you back again sometime.
Thank you. Survive. Or excuse me, don't survive, sir, thrive. I still can't do it, even with prep time. Thanks,
Thrivalist. I'm a thrivalist. All right. Well, we'll make it happen. We'll get it in our head. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you. Bye.
Also, yes. Also, rest easy on some MyPillows. So you can go to mypillow.com/KL. And what's really exciting is Mike Lindell has now made free shipping across the board. You don't have to hit that $75 threshold to get the free shipping. You can get the free shipping and so many sales going on right now. Use promo code KL to get your sheets, your towels, your MyPillow slippers. So he's always adding things too. I know I just got word that I'm getting some of this Rev 7 energy drink. So excited to try out that. If you want to try it out with me, then I guess you'll have to order now because I think mine's coming today. So excited to try that out. All right, let's go over the scripture of the day. This is what I've got for you today. Zephaniah. How often do you hear from Zephaniah? I mean, not often enough. Okay. Zephaniah 3:17. The Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. He will take great delight in you. In his love, he will no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you with singing. Love that. All right. And if you want to continue to dig into God's word with me, get a quick devotion each day, quick lesson in the Bible time, worship, all within, I've been keeping it at like 15 minutes. Do this daily in between getting ready and everything else. It's called Raw Faith for a reason, because it's come as you are. Some days I'm on there down and depressed and some days I'm happy-go-lucky, raw faith. It's just wherever you're at in your faith journey. If you can take about 15 minutes out of your day and join us, let us know your prayer requests. Trying to grow this community there on Locals. So please go to christyleetv.locals.com. That's christyleetv.locals.com, or just go to locals.com. Look for me there and join our daily devotion. Well, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to spread the word and share with friends. Get free with Christy Lee on Lindell TV Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. Thank you.